How's it going, YouTube? It's our favorite time of the week. We have a Q&A video for you all today. We got people in chat as well as some of the YouTube comments asking anything, whether it be about myself, my personal life, or what's going on in the space. If you guys would like to also be part of these, comments down below, easy way to do it, or stop by the stream while we do these live. First question is going to come from chat, and they say, what are your thoughts on AyyJay's hand injections? This one is a little bit different, and I don't think people are too familiar with this unless you follow specifically AyyJayy. But AyyJayy, as you guys can see by the tweet, says he got injections in his hands to stop sweating. They put the needle in my fingers. I thought I was finished. Oh my god, blah blah blah. You can kind of see the incisions and the inserts that he has. For those that aren't familiar, again, this is kind of a very rare circumstance, and if it is that big of a problem where you have to get injections, AyyJayy is a sweat apparently. His hands are so sweaty when he's trying to play Rocket League that it like ends up becoming a problem and he loses grip. So I'm sure he's tried other opportunities and other options for like different like grips that you can put on controllers or ways to hold it and stuff. But if it is your professional career, right? Like if this is something that you do at a very high level, I'm not surprised. Like if he's tried literally everything else and it hasn't worked, and he's gone to the point where now he's seeing a specialist and they are doing this to help reduce, if it makes a difference for him, all the better. At the end of the day, like he's a pro and he has to hold a controller, and if it is problematic to do so because his hands perspire a little bit too much, you know, power to him, man. Like I can't be here to judge a person trying to take steps so they can better their career. So I think that is pretty crazy. I think it's pretty wild. We've never seen something like that before. The only thing that I think we've come relatively close to is more so like wrist injuries and stuff, where people are dealing with like carpal tunnel or like tendonitis or anything like that, where they have to do like stretches and stuff like that, or, you know, things that there's a lot of people doing on. If you guys don't know LBP over in the OCE region, he actually does a lot of talks about this in public speaking on it as well, about like certain wrist stretches and things you can do, which are very helpful. So a lot of stuff out there about taking care of yourself and doing what you can to progress further, but pretty important. Freestyle these videos, or do you have some notes written already? Depends on the video. Some videos you definitely have a little bit of some bullet points, just because it keeps the timeline of things going and it allows you to kind of check a spark notes of like, hey, this thing happened at this date, go to this part, go to this part. But for the most part, it's all off the top of the dome. I try to, when I look at some videos beforehand, look at things. There's a couple videos where we cheat that system a little bit just for timing purposes. Like when we did a predictions video earlier today, we do the predictions on stream with no time limitation. We just kind of free flow those and do them as normal, as if we're just hanging out on stream. And then when I record the video, it's just the recap side of it. Otherwise, it just gets too much dead air. There's too much space and time of me like thinking and debating on stuff. So it's kind of over time, we've developed a process of how we do it. But many broadcast talent, because we're taught to train kind of word vomit, we can be free flowing. We can kind of figure out the direction we want to go. And I found myself, and you've probably seen me talk about this in a YouTube short, the more I try to script things out, the more I make mistakes, because then I feel like I have to say those things. So it is actually better for me to give myself less and then rely on my own capabilities, which took a long time for me to develop. That wasn't something that happened immediately. It is a talent that you learn through many reps and experience. So some videos 100%, some videos I definitely have a ton of notes that I'm trying to go through, because it just helps the flow and the pace and keeps everything on a timeline. But for a lot of the videos I record, no, it's just off the top of the dome. We're just running through it. I've got my tabs up that I want to talk about, and then we just go. Do I think RMC, Reddles, Magic Bear, and Cheese right now have the potential to contest with G2 and Gen G? I do. Credit where it's due. I think Shift Summer League was very telling. We got to see a bunch of consistent performances. And while, yes, a lot of players had taken time off and they were kind of spending their time relaxing, to say the least. And you even saw a lot of people like Chrome and stuff say, hey, we haven't played at all. This is kind of our getting into things. They proved that they were up there. You know, they were competitive. And I think that's credit to a team not only sticking together, not making changes, but also trying to build for the future. Even though their organization let them go and it was a really terrible situation, they are still iterating and making changes despite being in their offseason. They are done for the year. There is nothing for them to play in unless a tournament pops up and they either get invited or there's open qualifiers. So many players become complacent. They take this time off, but the guys are still grinding. They're still trying to make iterations and changes and adjustments to what is their play style. And I think in the past, RMC or what was LG was a little bit too templated. I think they kind of had a one-trick pony type play style, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I think they've become a bit more creative on the offensive half. It's not just, hey, we're going to demo everything and hope it works. And while that is still a large portion of their identity, I think they've done some things to change it up a little bit that makes them not as easy to read. So yeah, RMC's been a lot of fun to watch. Shout outs to Greg and the rest of the guys over there. I think they're doing a great job, but I think they have proven that they can be competitive. But that's the beauty of Rocket League, right? We have 4 teams going to the World Championship that honestly, I think RMC in their current form is probably better than maybe 1 or 2 of them. But that said, that may not be the case when the World Championship rolls around in a couple weeks. There is an opportunity that, you know what, some of these teams now also make their own adjustments and their own changes, and they are now leapfrogging ahead again. You just never know, man. I think that's the beauty of competition is there's ebbs and flows, and everybody's going to try to adjust and make changes to see who the best is. As we wait for Worlds and saw the year unfold, what are the major things you would like to see change in the next season? Format, presentation, splits, so on and so forth. So, Noodler, I'm not of the same opinion as many where they think 3 splits should be happening. I have kind of talked about what my ideal format is for next year. I think the number one thing is they have to bring back a wild card or some sort of weight in competition to where regions are playing for their regions. I think there needs to be some sort of substance when it comes to, hey, we're playing at a major. While, yes, we're competing for points, we also need to be competing for those like 17 to 24 spots for wild card. I think a wild card is absolutely and desperately needed. I would like to see more last chance qualifier stuff, which is something that I think desperately we'll be talking about here when we have a video coming up here in the near future talking about how there might be only 15 teams at the World Championship due to some MENA hiccups. But yeah, I think there is a desire for me to say, hey, I'm still okay with only a 2-split World Championship where there's 3 online or three online events into 2 majors and a World Championship, as long as the World Championship is really built out, where there is a wild card stage with additional spot opportunities and last chance qualifiers and things that make it a little bit more exciting. If you guys haven't seen that video, go check that out. I do talk about what my ideal format is for the RLCS. But the only way you can do that is if you have a roadmap built with things to look forward to in the offseason. If only 6 months of the year is going to be RLCS, then you have to make sure you have 6 months packed full of tournaments. There needs to be third-party TO events. There needs to be other things that people can look forward to. Like the DreamHack season of 2019, everybody was ecstatic about because we had RLCS as well as 4 events. And that doesn't mean that these players have to go and compete at every single one, but to have the opportunity to go and play, like Dream World is... there's this weird, quirky BTS Gold Rush type event. There's Shift Summer League, so we get league play. We get this, that. Like, why not have each TO specialize in a different format that people can look forward to and pick and choose what they play in? So, like, as long as there is time and space for that to build out and it's supported correctly, yeah, why not? So, that is the only contrast, though. If those things aren't planned out ahead of time and people don't know what to look forward to, you're going to continue to see rosters get dropped. You're going to continue to see orgs pull out. You're going to continue to see people complaining on social media about, hey, there's not anything going on. It's stale. We're bored, so on and so forth. So I'm okay with a 2-split World Championship format. I do think there's some things production-wise that I have pushed forward to the Epic team saying that needs to happen. One that I've been preaching for a long time is why there's no in-arena host where, like, going to Worlds doesn't feel special anymore to me. I think it's just the same old. And there is stuff that they do in traditional sports that they could easily do at the World Championships. Like, hey, we've got a 15-minute break plate that we're waiting for the next matches. You should be doing like 1v1s on stage during the break. You should be pulling people from the crowd and doing goofy things like the half-court shots and just things like that. Just things that make it like when you go there live, it's a unique experience that they can be doing. I'm not going to give you all of my ideas. I think the funniest one that I talked about on a podcast with JC was like finding YouTube comments of people who are like, I'm a plat and I could totally style on these people, blah, blah, blah. And then being like, hey, man, this tweet from this guy, he's in the crowd. Time to go hit that Justin shot that's so easy in front of this crowd. Let's see if you do. You get one shot, one chance. Good luck. Like, things like that would be super. How do they go about picking land locations? This is actually done pretty early, and it's a multitude of things. First thing is availability. Right? They will go previously, and this is how it was done when I was still RLCS, the production team or whoever's in charge of it, along with some of the staff, will then go and travel to some of these locations and kind of see what it is like in venue space, what they can do. They kind of scouted out with the production team, like, okay, we could put casters over there, we can set up production here, this will accommodate enough people, does it fit our audience size, so on and so forth. So logistically, they kind of look at what size, what kind of ticket sales, what are we trying to do based upon time of the year, is it going to be available, do we have the ability to rent out, what's the budget cost, so on and so forth. Like, hey, if this venue is $2 million to rent out for 3 days and this one is 1.5 for 2 days, 3 days, it's going to sway our opinion. Accessibility is another one. Is it easy to travel to? Is it by a big hub? Can people fly in easily? Is there a lot of flights available? Things like that are really important. Then it comes into conversation of the timing of things. Like, obviously, they usually want to alternate United States. East Coast and West Coast are traded separately. Then we want to go to Europe, and then we come back. If we did World Championship here this year, we want to do World Championship there next year. So a lot of things like that. But a lot of the land locations are done pretty early. Usually they're years in advance, where they have like a select list of places they can go or have good working relationships with. That also changes from production team to production team. A lot of the stuff that EFG had planned changed because Blast got picked up last second. That's why they went to Copenhagen, because it's in their backyard. Hey, we're going to do stuff in Fort Worth again. One, because we know the venue is accommodating. And two, we're running our Fortnite World Championship 2 weeks previously at the same place. And we can get a little package deal from Handshakes in our first year. It makes it cheaper for us. And it allows us to put more effort and emphasis into making the event great. While it may not be a unique location, financially it makes sense, and logistically it makes sense because our staff is already there. So there's certain things like that, and I assume Blast is going to level it up as years progress. But yeah, for the first year, it feels a little lackluster because we went back to 2 locations we've already been to. I am not one that thinks we should keep going back to Copperbox. I think it's diminished on me personally, but yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that they could be doing. I think some of the esports production teams may not be familiar about some of the things that you can do for cheaper. I know a lot of people in chat are talking about, hey, why not Minneapolis, St. Paul? There's plenty of venues here that they could do that, like the Armory and stuff, where they've done Call of Duty. Those options, I think people are starting to consider more. Obviously, Madison is very accommodating. There's a lot of places in the Midwest you can do it for pretty cheap. But can you get flights? Is it going to have the hotel infrastructure? Is it going to be able to support? That's where the complications come in. Obviously, you guys know I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. We're hosting the NFL draft next year. The amount of buildings and stuff that they have to build up for literally one event for a week is insane. So those things really come into play. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into picking land locations, and a lot of it's done pretty early on. So, but you always got to be able to pivot and change. But it comes down to pricing. At the end of the day, it's a business. If it's too much money, they're not going to do it. So pretty crazy stuff. We got more Q&A videos coming at you guys again. As always, leave comments down below. Love hearing what you guys have to say. Appreciate everybody tuning in and asking their questions. Always a fan of doing these. They're always super fun. But with that said, as always, like, subscribe, notifications helps me out greatly. Turn those things on. Leave your comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.